we're going to spend quite a bit of time here. And then under service delivery, where you can create some of your SLAs and agreements. You can create customer assets. So for instance, if you sell a, I'm going to just use HVAC for instance, you sell an HVAC system to a commercial customer. That HVAC system may be made up of, let's just say 10 different parts that are serial numbered separately, that are warranted perhaps separately. So you want to create a singular customer asset for a customer that you've done, but that singular customer asset has, say, 10 different items in it. So you can then take from your inventory those 10 items, create the customer asset, have that created here in Dynamics 365 so that you know that customer ABC has 5 HVAC units that have been delivered at various times. Those are the customer assets, and those are what you are truly managing and working off of. So you can imagine setting warranty schedules and preventative maintenance schedules against each customer asset differently, depending upon the asset, depending upon the age of the asset perhaps, and of course preventative maintenance and warranty schedules. As we move in, continue moving through the right of field service, you'll see that we are also dealing at a certain level with purchase orders, receipt of those purchase orders, the actual inventory itself, the warehouses that you're keeping this in, and unfortunately we don't have time to spend too much on this piece today other than just saying the features and functionality that you would expect. Issuing a purchase order, getting that product delivered and receiving against the purchase order, transferring from one warehouse to another, even to the point of using trucks, perhaps field trucks as warehouses. So you've got a certain build of equipment within each warehouse, within each truck, that can then be stored and managed effectively, so you know which is going where. And then of course all the RMAs and RTV processes that can be tied in here, and not just tied in here in the field service piece, but also pushed in and integrated with, say, Dynamics 365 for operations, which is really going to tie these pieces together and flow that into your financials, into your ERP in a way that makes sense, and you're not looking at a lot of double entry. Okay, so unfortunately that's all the time we have to spend on that. If you do have additional questions on that, please contact us. Please contact Amir at AX Mentor, and we'll get a follow-up schedule for you regarding that functionality. Okay, so let's go back to service, and we're going to start a process through it. Now in this case we're going to actually create a case. I'm going to be a customer service rep. I pick up, the phone rings, I pick it up, and I can go ahead and create a new case based on that customer. So the customers that's calling is obviously first thing, right? So I want to identify the customer, and if you've got your CRM, your Dynamics 365 system set to integrate with phone, then you can have screen pops and all that kind of stuff. That's not necessarily an out-of-the-box configuration, but it is very possible, and there's quite a bit of ways that we can do that, and a lot of different phone systems that we can integrate to. Okay, so in this situation, I'm actually going to take Coho Winery. That's who called me, or Coho Vineyard, excuse me. And this came in from the phone, so we can auto-populate a lot of this information based on how this case flows in. And we're going to put here that the cooler is not working. So obviously I'm filling this out as I'm talking to the customer, and I'm not going to fill out a ton of information here because we don't want to take up our valuable time on this webinar watching me type, which can be extremely painful. But I do want to talk about some of the fields that exist, and again, please understand this is out of the box in a demo environment with demo data. So this isn't configured necessarily for any specific industry. It's basically a out-of-the-box configuration that we can use for demos. So this ribbon here across the top is what's called the business process flow ribbon. It handles the stages perhaps of a case. This is an out-of-the-box process. It can be adjusted and changed and tweaked or completely turned off depending upon what you need. As we walk through and we're populating the information, we can grab a subject. So this is all about service, and these are all configurable. These fields that you see, the drop downs, all of this is configurable to your situation, and that's part of what we do during implementation. We can walk through and identify the person who's contacting us. Do they have a service contract with us? That's going to be handled at the entitlement level. Are we dealing with a specific product? We can identify that out here. We can also grab the actual customer asset record if we need to. Just depends on how your system is configured. And I'm just going to scroll through some of this data real quick and just show you some of the key points. This piece right here, publish to web, steps to reproduce. With your Dynamics 365 enterprise level subscription, or a field service, you get a portal. So you get a hosted in Azure by Microsoft portal that is specific to you, and it can be configured through a number of templates that are available to start with, whether it's a field service template, whether it's a customer service self-service template, partner template. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can start. The templates really just provide you with the basic starting place. So some of the integrations to records within CRM are already linked. The portal is a great way for you to extend what you're doing in CRM to your customers, and allowing your customers or your partners or whomever it is to log in and look at Dynamics 365 data and interact with it depending upon what their role is at the portal level. So it's a great way for you to extend out what you're doing, try and automate a little bit. So for instance, a customer can log onto the web, they can create their own case, get it started. It hits Dynamics 365, and all of a sudden, all of your workflows, all of your back-end processes are kicked off to assign it to the right person or to deal with it. So a great way to help automate the data entry and to get things started. So just as we keep on going down here, you can add other cases. You can have a parent-child case if this is related to something else. We have knowledge-based records that we can build inside the system. So if you have a service case and there's a knowledge-based record inside your system, you can attach to it. SLA for your service level agreements. Basically just all kinds of different information that can be tracked. Some of it automatically, some of it that can be entered as you go along. And then of course, we're tying this to field service. So I only have in my demo data, I've only created one service, which is the on-site service. But here's where you can identify and start the process of feeding this information into the work order, which then feeds the information to the rep in the field to give them a list of tasks that they need to do, preventative maintenance steps they need to take, so that every time you create the work order, every time you create a case, you're not necessarily having to enter all this information manually. It can be brought in from the account. For instance, at the account level, you can put in a note that says, please contact the manager on site, or please contact Fred, so that those pieces of information at the account level flow through into either your case or your work order or both. All right? So we have a case, we've created it, we've kind of talked about some of the information. I just want to touch here in the middle. This is our activity section, so that if you're trading emails, if you're creating phone call records, that starts populating here. So for instance, if I do a follow-up call, again, we don't want to have you watching me type this whole time. I can say this is outgoing, whatever. I can put a due date, and it's going to start tracking these activities. If you're tracking emails, so this case came in through an email perhaps instead, the email activity is also going to be tracked here. So you don't have to keep going back and forth to find, where's that email that the customer gave me? I need some data out of there. So all of that can then be tracked at the case level. So now that we have the case, we're going to save the case again just to make sure. Okay, so now we have this case. With Dynamics 365 Field Service, you can schedule in a lot of different ways. The general process is through the work order, because the work order is think of the work order, if you don't currently use work orders in your company, think of the work order as a container for all kinds of different data related or data pieces that are related to that customer, that service, that technician, whatever the case may be. That work order can trigger, and you'll see it when we show the client, that it's going to show all of the information that you've got in that work order, right? So that's going to allow you to effectively communicate with your rep in a way that makes sense. All right. So in this case, and I'm not going to walk it through just for sake of time, but you'll see here in our command bar across the top all the different things that you can do with a case. Well, one of them is convert this case to a work order. And when we do that, what happens is that all of the information that you've created within the work order, the information you've captured for the field rep, all gets populated into the work order. And then at the work order level, you can even get more granular around adding an estimated, say, a compressor that you need to add, that you think that it sounds like they're going to need a new compressor. So you put an estimated level in there that says, we estimate that you're going to need this compressor at $495. It stays at an estimate. It stays actually in inventory. You can allocate it. So for instance, if it goes to a truck, when the truck goes out, you can either allocate it, transfer it to the truck, so it's still available in inventory, but it's in the truck. Or when you finally get around to saying, no, we're going to need to install this, you can then note that in the mobile app, which then allocates. So it allocates it out of inventory, and you know that it's no longer available. You're going to be invoicing it out to one of your customers. Okay, so obviously at the case level, there's a ton that we can do. Run specific workflows. We can share it off with other people within our organization. We can even trigger a different process if that's what's needed. All kinds of different things that we can do here. Obviously, some of these are because I'm an admin. So generally, we would either, whatever your process is, if the customer service person taking the call can then convert it to a work order and then have somebody else who's out there doing the scheduling, they'll be scheduling those work orders, or they can schedule it right away if they choose to. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to field service. So we're going to take and go through all of the pieces in field service as quickly as we can and try and get you the overview for it. And then we'll open it up. If you've got some questions at the end, you can use the chat area in your GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar tool, and we'll try and answer as many of those as we can with what time we have at the end. So we're going to jump straight into work orders. So by going into work orders, we start, this is the default view that I have set up for myself, which is active work orders. It's one of the out-of-the-box system views that we have included in the system. And you can see across here in this view that it's displaying several different columns of data. These columns are direct from the work order itself. This can be expanded or minimized depending upon what your needs are and what the needs are of the folks that might be looking at this. So for instance, we can tell right now that I have one unscheduled work order, and I have several here that are scheduled. You can see the service account that's listed here, as well as what the primary incident description might be, okay? Now let me talk real quick. We're going to open up the bag B1 real quick because I want you to see this service order, or excuse me, this work order. As we saw before, we've got an out-of-the-box business process flow here that you can either use, adjust, or turn off. I'm going to minimize this to give us a little bit more real estate. We also, as we walk through here, I want to show you a couple of key data points within the work order before we actually get around to scheduling this. The first is obviously in the middle here we have the activities section. So again, any activities that you're creating or dealing with as you go through here, you're assigning a task to somebody, you are phoning the customer to verify certain pieces of information, or they phone you. All of that then gets tracked here. So you really start getting the full level of information coming from your interactions. The second thing I want to talk about is here as we go through the left. So you have two different pieces here. You have a service account and a billing account. So let me just quickly clarify that. You may have a headquarters for, say, Bagby Brewing in this case, or a medical facility where you've got a Palomar Medical Center, where you have a one single billing account for multiple service accounts, multiple locations. This is how you handle that, and if you don't have that, then these are each going to be the same. But if you need to change it, you know that all the billing goes to the headquarters, yet the service account is actually going to be different. And the reason that is because you want the proper address, you want the proper set of contacts that the person may be dealing with when they get out there listed at the service account level, so that they've got all the information they need right up front. So a billing account can be separate from a service account depending upon your customer. So it's flexible, enabling you to do that. Obviously, you can see that some of this information that would have come across from the case record is here. Primary incident. So we've already preset this, which then populates. We have this on-site service incident type set for a default 2 hours estimated duration. This can be changed at any point. You can just either change it here or just type in what you need. If you are attaching a specific customer asset, as we talked about before, you would add this here. You can see here down below we've got some subtotal estimates that are being brought in. This is brought in automatically based on what we configured earlier, as we would have through the case to work order process. At the work order, you can start identifying, hey, we've got a date here that the customer would like it to start here and here. You can add this information, which is going to help you in scheduling, and I'll get to that here momentarily. The instructions, please see Eva on arrival. Here's who was reported by. If you break your service groups down by territories, that's going to be listed here as well. And if you need to change the work location, you certainly can. So again, these are default out-of-the-box fields. The system is extremely configurable, which means that we can use the standard tool set to add fields, change drop-downs, all without coding, which in our nomenclature, configuration is using the built-in tool set to make changes to the system that make sense for you and your company. Customization is when we're actually adding code. We have to perhaps build some code to do something fancier than is here, or to fill a gap in resource need. So it pretty much kind of goes down. Obviously, configuration is the best. Out of the box is the best. Configuration is next in terms of budget and timing and getting it done. So all of the stuff that we're talking about here is out of the box, as I mentioned. So the address comes from the account, from the service account, not the billing account. That's where it becomes important. And you can see that as part of the process, it automatically does a geocode on it. So it's identifying the exact location based on lat long, so that when you are either working at the app level or you're working here, it's actually identifying where it is on a map. All right. As we go in here, if we needed to add that product, so for instance, if we needed to add a HVAC compressor that we think is going to be needed, we would be able just to do that here. We're going to go ahead and add I have a compressor on my list. So we're going to add that. It's going to grab the information. It's taxable. We have not yet allocated it because we're not positive it's going to be needed. This is an estimated line item, so it's not going to show up on the bill unless we convert this over to actually being used as we get there. If there's a price list attached, this price list happens to have a name of no name. And you can see that the estimate amount is $495. And if we have an estimate quantity, we're going to say that we're going to need 1 unit. All right? And then the cost, if we had costs in the background that this is costing us $200, et cetera, it feeds all of that information through if we wanted to. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and leave that, save and close. And it's now added that here. You can see that it's an estimated item, and that's why there's a 0 cost to it, is because it hasn't actually been used, but we're putting that in there just in case. And then, of course, when we talked about the service, here's the service that we put in here. We have a minimum of 2-hour charge, perhaps, totaling $250. All right, so this is our work order. It can be extremely powerful to produce information that's going to be needed in the field for your team. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to schedule this work order. So let's go over here to schedule board. And again, there's this is a Microsoft product, and as a lot of different Microsoft products as well as others, there's 15 ways to do one thing, right? So let's grab some real estate here. I'm going to reduce some of these down. Now this view that you're seeing here is my personal view. So if you've got 2 or 3 people that are doing your scheduling, doing your bookings, they can configure this board as they want to see it, and they can change it. So just because I change my board and the way it looks, and I'm looking at it by a day view into the hours, I'm looking at it in a vertical list, blah, 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 it doesn't change what everybody else is doing. All right, so I can configure this in a way that makes sense for me. So let's talk about this schedule board, because this is really where a lot of your booking folks are going to live. You have the ability to filter out what you see, and in this case, I'm looking at how I'm filtering my technicians. For the purpose of our demo, I only wanted to look at 2 people instead of the 85 resources I have built out in the system. And we're doing this on an individual level instead of, for instance, a truck level. So part of your resources could be a truck, and part of that on-site service incident type could require 1 technician, 1 truck, and some of the equipment that's in the truck, and all of that can be built into that service. A little bit more than what we can talk about today in the session that we've got. But however you've got that configured, now the point is you've got to be able to schedule it and get your people to where they need to go as you see them kind of built out here. So we're going to deal with these 2. First of all, Abram here has a full day booking. He's out at a location where he's doing a full day of maintenance, so you can see that based off of his availability here, he's pretty much locked in. He's not going to be available for us. And you can see Ken Farmer, our technician Ken Farmer, not our scheduler who's doing this right now, he has quite a bit of time available today. We're looking at today's schedule, but you can be scheduling a month out if you need to. It doesn't have to be necessarily today. I'm doing it this way because it's a little bit better to demo as opposed to trying to schedule things, perhaps 2 weeks out and then, scrolling back and forth. So please understand that you can look at it differently. So I can look at it based on a week schedule, so I can see the different weeks perhaps that are out there. I can scroll to the current week and I can see who's got what hours already booked out. So I can look at the percentages and the hours that are booked for each person as we go through this, okay? So let's go back to where we were. Real quick on resources, one of the great features is that you can go in and build your resources based off of the roles that they fulfill in your organization as well as their skill sets. So I just have some skill sets. Some of these are just through the demo data, others are ones that I built out. But these skill sets allow you to take a look and see what they're, so if you're sending somebody out to a job site and they have to be proficient in wine equipment repair, you want to break it down by that skill set. And that skill set is determined either at the work order level or at the incident type level. So you've got a couple of different ways to control it, because you really want to be able to set it up once and forget it, right? You want to be able to maintain the person's skills and make sure that you understand, are they proficient or are they just good at it? And that's what these bars mean. And there's one other level here that's, I can't remember what they call it, but basically 3 levels of skills. So it gives you the ability to then grab the right person for the right job, okay? What the map is showing us is the map for the day, because we're in that mode. And this is the starting location here for both of your resources. It just happens to list the other guy first. But here's the first job that Ken has here, right? So if I go ahead and highlight this, we start seeing more information within the system. I can actually pop this out. So if I want more information about this work order without having to open it, I can go ahead and pop out this side pane. If I've got this highlighted, it's going to provide me with all the information that I've configured for it to show me in this, in this side pane here, all right? Yes, this is configurable, just to let you know. You can, of course, double-click this at any point and bring up some of the basic information. In this case, it's going to start you with the booking information for that individual. If you want to get to the actual work order itself, you would go ahead and click on the number here, and that's the work order number, and it will bring it up for you. Okay? So let's talk about scheduling. I'm going to go here to this area called unscheduled work orders. And again, this is Microsoft and this is Dynamics 365. So I have the ability to schedule this in a couple of different ways. I could have scheduled it from the work order itself, but I wanted to show you the board. Here, if you have a whole host of of work orders that you need to schedule, I can either drag this up into here and place it where I want it, or I can click on it. Excuse me. Let me. I can click on it, and I get this Find Availability tab here. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the information we put in the work order. It's going to compare that to the availability of our resources and the skill sets of our resources, and it's going to find somebody that it can go ahead and schedule. So you can do these automatically if you want to. It shows you that Ken Farmer has this availability here, the travel time it's going to take him to get there from his previous job. All right, so it gives you quite a bit of information. It's pretty robust and intelligent. So that's one way of doing it, right? So then down below in the Schedule Assistant, it's giving you additional information. All right, so that's great. So we could go ahead and click Book, and it's going to go ahead and schedule that for us from 10:30 to 12:36, which includes your travel time. Or we can schedule this manually. So many of your booking individuals, your schedule folks, they know your resources, right? They know a lot of your customers even, and it's going to be quicker for them just to take a look at this and go, all right, I'm going to give this to Ken at 11 o'clock, and I'm just going to drag it up there. Because I know that, yeah, it's only 6 minutes away, but at the same time, I need to give him a little extra time because he may want to, take a bio break or something like that. So I've scheduled him our default 2 hours for this job, and you can see that the map has now changed, right? So it knows that Ken is going from here. This is his first job that he's at apparently right now. Then he's going to be going up here to this one. You can switch the order of these. You can drag and drop. You can say, you know what, I just got another call from the customer. There's really a lot more to be done than our standard 2 hours, so I just drag this out to 3 hours. This changes the underlying work order as well. So whatever I'm doing here is addressing all the issues that we need to have taken care of as we go through this, okay? So the booking side of this is, it really comes down to the setup of your resources and skill sets and everything in the background, which, you know, generally is a one-time setup, right? You've got to go through and spend the time to make sure that the data is accurate. You may have certifications that people have to get to the different skill set levels. That's great. We want them to do that. You can control that. You can truly schedule all of that information as you go through here. We can see that Ken Farmer here as a resource. He's got all kinds of different information. So this is a bookable resource information screen. You can see that you can add the different resource skills, the roles he may provide. You can see the different rating values. So it really comes down to how you're going to set up your resources. So in my case, I've got a resource address, which the resources are based at the office. So you can also say they're working from home, right? Or they're working from another warehouse, or that's where you're going to start their location and end their location every day. You can also set utilization numbers. You know, hey, I've got these resources sitting out there. I don't want them sitting on the bench. I want to know what my target utilization for each one is going to be. Is it going to be 80%? Is it going to be, you know, 90%? Are we going to push these guys out 100? It just depends on how you set this, and then this feeds your reports. And it gives you the ability to track how that's going, to set some quotas, to set some goals. Are they schedulable? Are they available for search? Yes. What warehouse do they generally work out of? Is there an hourly rate that this person bills out that's different than the default? All kinds of different ways that you can configure the different resources and how they interact. Now, you can get as granular as you want. You don't have to. And that's the beauty of the system, is the level of complexity is directly related to what you need. And if you need the granular, you know, resource tracking and things that are there, it's there for you out of the box. But you have to just configure it. If you don't need it, you just want to put, you know, this guy is a, you know, technician. He's the same as all my other guys. I don't, you know, differentiate between the two. I just need somebody to get out there. That's fine too. That's going to work out for you. Okay, so that's our scheduling piece. Now, once Ken Farmer, and I'm going to switch over to the mobile app here real quickly, but once you are looking at what's going on with the individuals in their schedule, once this rep gets done with this this work order, with this on-site visit, within the app, he's going to put down that he's completed and it's ready to go. He's moving on to the next job, which is great, right? And it will then change this board for you, and it'll let you know that this has been completed. He's all done with what he's supposed to do. The information that he's collected is pushed back into Dynamics 365. So you're going to be able to see it. You're going to be able to see that, hey, yes, he needed that compressor, or no, he didn't. You're going to see that, well, it wasn't actually 2 hours. He got finished a lot quicker. So all of that is tracked in the system from the mobile app, and you've got a real-time view of what's going on, right? Okay, so let's pull up the app and talk about that real quick. The app that's available, there are apps for pretty much every platform: iOS, Android, iPads, every form factor. It's basically a general app with all of the field service specific capabilities. This is a field service app for Dynamics 365. You have the ability to configure it. So the screen, this is the default screen that we would see. Maybe you don't need your guys in the field to see all of this. Maybe you don't want them to see everybody else's work orders. You only want to see, you know, their bookings, what they have booked out for the day, or for, you know, you can look at it a couple of different ways, your guys in the field, right? So you can configure this so that it makes sense for you. We're, again, dealing with out of the box. You're probably really tired of hearing me say that right now. So I'm a field tech now, and I'm on my, in this case, this is an old Galaxy S6, which I love. It's my phone. So it's an Android phone. You can see we're dealing with this live too. So if I turn my phone sideways, the app turns sideways, I can scroll down. I can see the list of accounts that I have access to see. I can see my bookings. right? So I can drill into the bookings. There we go. And you can see the times that I'm supposed to be there. So I'm going to open up this first one, and it's going to pull the actual booking record up. It's loading it up for me. And I can see all the information that was fed in, okay? So this is the one for that I'm in the middle of right now. I'm at Coho Winery. This isn't the one that I created, but I can show you that here in a minute. We can see all the different information, and this is a regular on-site visit. If there's an asset that didn't get selected and didn't get included at the work order level, but now I'm on site and I know which asset it is that we're dealing with, I can go ahead and add that just by clicking click to select. I can change this information into the work order summary, right? And again, if you thought my typing was bad on the keyboard, wait till you see me do it on my phone. Customer, equipment, filthy. Need more maintenance. So these are notes that I'm including here at this point. I'm going to click on next, and it's going to take me back down to the app here. You can see my work order summary there. I can look at the different maintenance tiers. I can really just do anything I need to here at this point, right? So let me open this up. Oh, that's not where I wanted to go, sorry. Let me save it. Let me go back here, and we're going to close this out, right? So my booking status is scheduled. I can, hang on one second, let's do this from here to make it a little easier to see. So I can grab the different information. Let me do it this way, sorry. There we go, that gives us a little bit more real estate. So under the status, I can change this and put down I've completed, right? It'll populate for me what time it is that I completed it at 9:50. It'll change the duration once I save it. I can add miles if I need to. I can add additional pieces and parts. I'm going to go ahead and just save this for right now. And then we're going to move on to my next booking. So on my app, you can see that I closed out the first work order that I had today, and now I'm moving on to the second one. I need to know where it is. So I can, let's see, I can say, give me the map. I want to figure out where this is. Okay. I can drive there. I can create driving directions from where I am if I need to. I can go back to my main booking information. I can do all the things that I need to do to get there, right? So now I'm gonna get there. I'm actually gonna get there a little bit early. But before we do that, I want to show you real quickly. Let's move this over. You can see that this is now changed here on my board because all the information got fed back. You can see that I'm actually done, right? There's a check mark there that says it's done instead of the, let me move this over this way. Instead of the schedule icon, it now has a done icon, and you can see that 2 hours now went back to 1 because it didn't take me the full time to do it. All right, I can open this work order. The full duration is listed right here, 1 hour and 20 minutes. And I can see any additional information that was populated there. So now my board is accurate. My board is correct. I can actually, you know, ping my guy, text him, send him an email, do whatever, and say, do you want me to call the client and move this forward? Or maybe he calls the client and he moves this forward. And now he's going to say on the, let me pull up the app. I apologize. There we go. So now I clicked on the start time. So he's now called the client. He's gotten there early, and so he's going to start this right now instead. So we're coming up on 10 o'clock. So I'm going to say we're going to start this now at 10 o'clock instead of at 11. And we're going to walk through and we're going to do what we need to do. I'm just going to save that real quick. And I have mine set up, configured to close on save, sorry. So now I'm gonna go out there at 10 o'clock. So now I'm on site, and I'm gonna go through and take a look, and I can see here that it says please see Eva on arrival. So I'm gonna need to go find out who Eva is, talk to her, find out what the problem is. She'll sign me in, give me a badge, do whatever I need to do to get on site to get to the actual unit. I can then go through and add additional information to the incident. I can change the actual incident type if I need to. If I get on site and see that it's a different type of incident than what was originally scheduled, I can make the change here. I can change the asset. I can add to the work order summary. I can change the work order type. So as I go through this, and I can, instead of scrolling, of course, I can go across and grab the different things here. So I can say, what are my service tasks? Oh, it's just a typical on-site service. Okay, that's great. There's the beverage dispenser that I may or may not need to add, and then my service charge, right? Whoop, sorry. If you are set up for payments within the app, you can certainly take that. You have a credit card reader, you've got the service all set up and done correctly, you can do it there. And we also have the ability to add notes and pictures. So let's say I'm the tech, and I'm gonna do this. This is gonna be kind of a little strange, but I'm looking at the HVAC system, and I'm like, wow, this is what I found, and this is actually a piece of petrified wood that I have on my desk here. I found this inside the unit. So I'm gonna snap a picture, and I'm gonna say, yep, I'm gonna add that. So I'm gonna click OK. I think I clicked OK. There we go. Oh, and now it wants me to change my password. Hang on one second. Not change my password, I'm sorry. It's set up to, I need to change that. Ask for a password after every couple of minutes. Okay, let me bring that back up on screen. I was trying to hide my password so you didn't see it. So there's that picture. I'm in the app, right? So I created this picture, it's attached it, and I'm gonna just put in the description here, found this inside a compressor, all fixed now, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and save it. And so it's going to save my picture. It's going to create the note. You can see there that it says the note is created, the picture's attached, and that then gets pushed into Dynamics 365 as you would expect. Okay? So now I'm done with the setup, excuse me, and I go to the client. Hey, here's what we did. I need you to sign off on this. So the client signs off. We save the record. I go back and say, okay, I'm done, right? So then I would complete out this booking, and it would go back to the system. It would show that it's completed. It would show my note. It would have the picture attached, and all of that is a part of the record as we move forward. Okay? So that was our 50,000-foot overview. I tried to touch on some key parts, mainly around the work orders, the scheduling, the booking, resources, a little bit of case management, but not much, and then of course the mobile app.